Guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Ryan from Nefarious Comics alongside my very talented co-host, your honor channel. She's a nerdy girl, Danielle. How are you doing today?
Hey, how's it going?
Man, it is cold down here, but we got hot topics to talk about with you guys. So, Danielle, I lost touch with you this past weekend a little bit because you were out and about. You were down in the Windy City, far from Florida, and a lot colder, I'm guessing, hitting up
So cold.
C2E2. How was
It
your
was
time down there?
freezing. Like, I saw snow one morning and I was like, okay, not in Florida anymore. Um,
Oh,
the show was a blast. Similar to New York, attendance was probably about 40% of what it typically is. But I selfishly enjoy the show when it's not as crowded because you get to like walk around, talk to people. My gripe with them is they didn't put any carpet down. Like it was concrete floors all weekend.
Oh, that's no good. So first question is, I know we had spoke about this before you going down to the show, but did you dress appropriately? Because I know you didn't think there would be an issue with the climate change.
Yeah. So fortunately, I stayed in one of the hotels that has like a tunnel. So there's like three different hotels that all have these tunnels to the convention center. So I only went outside when I had to get in an Uber.
Strategically done.
Yep.
Very good. And here's another question. So I know you're famous for bringing quote unquote a backpack full of books.
Bag
What
of
was it?
tricks.
What was in your bag of tricks this time around?
Let's see. I had a Detective 37. I had Journey 83, a Fantastic Four 48, Fantastic Four 4, Action 7 and 13, Tomb of Terror 15, 8-5, that classic melting face cover that I
Wow.
love. What else did I have? X-Men 10196. Oh, Shock Suspense Stories 698. That like classic EC cover that's just so wrong and so appropriate for the time, all in one ball of like offensiveness, but classic, like cult classic, really.
Wow, that is quite a bag of tricks. Now, did you end up dispersing any of your bag of tricks, or did you bring them all
Sold a
home?
couple books. I
That's exciting.
sold Detective 37 and Shock Suspense 6.
Wow.
Really bittersweet moment on those two. But gotta sell stuff to bring more stuff in. And with
Oh,
the last rounds of auctions, it's time to bring some stuff in.
you're preaching the choir, Danielle. No
Yeah,
one, no one feels your pain as much as me. You know what I mean? Commerce dictates that overdraft can only
so
go so far. You know what I mean? Before you start
so
getting calls from the
true.
bank. So that's awesome. So Danielle, who was the crew down at C2E2 this year?
So there was myself, Skeleton Key Comics. Got to meet a lot of people from the comic book community, which was really fun. I definitely feel like it was a like comic book community show more than New York. I got to meet Slabulous. I got to hang in the Whatnot booth, which is always fun. Went out and played Barcades twice
Oh,
at night. I think that that's our new thing. A couple artists, Illis Illuminati, who's very much an up and coming hip hop variant artist and just crushes it. Joe Doyle, who's another up and coming artist that's going to do really great things with Venom and Carnage, my opinion.
man, that sounds so fun, man. You know
Yeah.
what? Hip hop and comics, nothing goes better in my opinion. So shout out to Illis Illuminati. I was checking out your
Devon.
page.
Yeah. He's dope.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff.
It was really funny. One of my longtime dealer friends caught me going through boxes and he almost fell over when he saw me. He came up and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like,
Wow.
"I'm hunting."
Danielle, I ask you this all the time, and I was talking to Rage about this too. It's like you guys are doing so well over and whatnot. Like, how do you get the stock just to keep the wheels moving?
Gotta
You know what I
hunt
mean?
for it. Yeah.
You got to hunt, man, and there's always deals coming out of shows when you take the time just to look through boxes. You know what I mean? Last show I was at, the Ottawa Comic Con, big ups. There's guys posting, tagging them. There people were finding like first appearance of Riri for like $15. I guess the dealer didn't take the
Yay.
time to reprice their stock and
Yeah.
posting it.
There are treasures to be found.
If you're willing to put the work in,
Yep.
and this is not like a 5-minute endeavor, Danielle. And I
No.
think that's why you brought
Uh-uh.
up the fact that it's concrete flooring. When you
Mhm.
start going through boxes at like these big shows,
This is
like
the hardest I've ever worked buying at a show, ever.
man, well, and good, but then you have to come prepared because bring your BCW comic portfolios, bring a short box or something, or have quick drops back to the hotel. Because
Yeah.
after you buy like the first 10 books, you start walking around with stacks like this, and like,
Yeah. I had
or
to ship 3 boxes back to myself that are coming this week.
that's hilarious. So Danielle, tell me this,
Yeah.
but you're probably okay in this, but maybe not everyone else is. You probably know half the dealer floor anyway, so you could probably like do like little drops, like
Oh,
weapons
yeah, I do.
caches.
I have, like, my booth at Dave& Adams, and I just walk over and I just walk in and I'm like, "Okay, I'm adding to my stack. I'll see you guys later. You need anything?"
Yeah, well, they're probably thankful with the odd coffee or croissant or whatnot.
Oh, yeah, I bring them coffee every morning. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so fun. And did you make any purchases down at C2E2?
I filled up. I shipped back 3 boxes, so
Oh,
2 short boxes, and then I shipped back a box of slabs too.
that's so fun, man. You know what?
Yeah.
When it comes to shipping with me, it's like every 2 seconds checking tracking, especially when it's slabs. Oh boy, that's exciting
I just
stuff.
am like, "All right, I have the tracking number on my refrigerator. If it doesn't get here in the next couple days, I'll start looking for it."
Oh man, but good time. It sounds like you met up with a lot of people. I know you and Sammy from Skeleton Key are tight. I saw some pics of you guys out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
so
that's cool that
fun.
you guys are able to reconnect down there. And so as far as conventions go, we got Christmas right around the corner. I guess the
Next
convention
week.
season for this year is kind of at a close. So
Yeah, I think
um,
C2E2 is the final show, like, the big show of the year. Yeah.
yeah. And what a weird year it was for shows amidst COVID, but it's awesome
Yeah.
that we were able to get some shows in the late third, early fourth quarter of the
Yeah.
year and get people milling about and connecting again. So with shows ending, it's kind of an interesting time. Um,
Mhm.
we have a lot of stuff still going on in the comic book secondary marketplace. Being at the auction houses, which is my hangout these days.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a keyboard warrior, and
Sweet spot.
Danielle.
A
So
keyboard
got
warrior in a good way.
yeah. Except if you're my bank account, then I'm your worst nemesis.
Nemesis.
So, guys, Danielle and I talk a lot on the phone just to kind of map out our shows, talk about the industry, and just shoot the breeze. We're friends. So we there's an auction coming up. There's 2 big auctions going on right now. We had Comic Link that just finished like last week. I think the last night for the art was last night. And
Yeah.
then Comic Connect, all their finishes is going on right now. Now, what's interesting is I made a couple purchases over at Comic Link, and leading up to this, you know what I mean. I'm always coming up with these kind of like quadratic equations in my brain as to what I'm going to pay on books and what certain books are worth. And Danielle, she's like, Ryan, you know what? It's a good time to buy. December historically, auctions are very low. Prices are low. A couple of my other friends are like, man, you're gonna be getting everything so cheap. It's a great time to buy. Well, guess what? Farthest thing
Oh.
from the case,
Yeah.
because I thought all these auctions were just so overloaded with big books, everything is gonna be going low. That wasn't the case at all. And I think this speaks volumes to like the higher end aspect of the
For sure.
hobby. You know, um, so let's see, where are we going to start with this? So Comic Link had the Parcel auction. Stanley's personal tailor, David Parcel, had a lot of interesting signature series books, a lot of super high grade books
Yeah.
going up. I think one of their biggest sales on that auction was the Hulk one,
Yeah, I think that was
8.5,
the standout in my opinion. Yeah.
240 grand. So
240.
I think, you know what? I think that's a good price. Both it's a strong price
Yeah.
for the hobby, and I think whoever bought that got a bargain on that book because I think there's
I
maybe
think long term, yeah, that's a really, really smart buy. Hulk 1 above 7.5 is really hard. And that was a really nice 8.5 with really deep colors.
yeah. And Danielle, I know you were paying attention over at Comic Link as well. What kind of stood out that was performing well in that auction to you?
Well, I thought the Hulk went strong personally. I think that it was a strong price, but a smart buy. And in this hobby, if you can pick up something at market that's a grail like that, where you're not going to see a copy like that again, congratulations. I think the FF1 was strong. I think AF15 prices I just can't wrap my head around AF-15s.
Oh, we got a whole segment coming up on that in a few
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah, but it was exciting. And so guys, before we get over to Comic Connect, because that's going on right now. There's a really big book that finished last night. Can't wait to
Ooh,
get into. But and it's interesting because Daniel and I, again, we were talking, and I think, and Daniel, let me know what you think about this too. I think the market for books, kind of over 40, over $50,000, is doing wonderfully because
really
you know
healthy.
yeah, just like you see guys like Ken Golden with a lot of the sports stars really starting to get into, like, like Steve Aoki with the greatest
Yeah,
Pokemon cards, greatest sports cards and whatnot. All it's going to take is like one of these big celebrities, movie star,
yeah.
athletes to start posting that they're into like getting
Music
graded comic
mogul.
books,
Yeah,
and then it's just going to throw more fuel on the fire. And so I know it's not a playground that everyone can play in, but just be aware that the buying pool for books $40,000 and $50,000 is a different one, and trends of books that are landing in the $5,000 to $20,000 range, you're in a different buyer pool than the
yeah,
40,000 $50,000 books up. And I think there is great opportunity if you can swing it, if you can get into some of these bigger books, specifically like high grade, early silver, golden age,
key
highest grade.
issues. Blue
Oh,
chip.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's a great opportunity, and I guess time will tell. My personal, I love those books. I wish I could own more of them, but
yeah,
unfortunately, there's almost so much blood you can sell a week at the blood bank.
yeah,
So
no shit.
we're we're working our way towards it. And then
Well,
over, go ahead, Danielle.
comic books have I was just gonna say, they've kind of just become their own asset class. Like, they're a collectible, but they're an asset now, and they're a tangible token, if you wanna think about it that way.
Yeah, well, yeah, they certainly are, especially with the big jump that happened early this year. Kind of February to March, we almost saw like
Yeah,
3 years worth of growth in about 2 months, and a lot of these books are going for multiples of. Let's look at a book, Ultimate Fallout 4, 1 in 25.98. The beginning of the year, that was going around
crazy.
14K, and a lot of people thought that was expensive. Now you're seeing that book, one just finished over at Comic Link, $30,000
I think that's
plus.
expensive.
Well, it is expensive, but I think if you follow that trend, you know what I mean. A couple years ago,
Yeah,
that book was $2,500,
yeah,
and I think the whole Miles Empire is just going to start blasting off. It's a really, really, really cool book. And then finishing right now, guys, over at Comic Connect. Danielle, tell us about what happened last night.
Oh my gosh. An Action 130 sold for $1.638 million with the buyer's premium.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so, guys. What's funny is Danielle's been talking about this book forever because, as some of you may or may not know, she happens to own a 3.5, which is very, very nice. And Danielle, tell us, where were you a buyer at this book?
I was like an easy buyer at 500 because, like, at 500, I'll buy it. I'll have two. At 700, I'll think about it. But a million, I'm like, do not think I'm a buyer at a million. And to see it go over 1.5 just speaks to the validity of comic books as an asset. The person buying that isn't buying it because they remember reading it. They're buying it because they view it as a blue chip investment that they're going to put on their wall or put in a safety deposit box or do whatever they're going to do with it. And they just realize the historical significance of that book.
Yeah, I think you're very, very on point there. Also, guys, if you can compare this to, like, I don't know, maybe like the modern art market, you know what I mean? Once you kind of get to that uber asset class of
Yeah.
a million plus on an asset, it doesn't take much for something to go from like 1.5 million to 5 million to
Yeah.
10 million and so on and so forth. Because once you're kind of part of like the 1% of the 1%, if you want it, you want it. And when
Yeah.
something's so finite, then, how many Action One Blue Labels are there
Only
out there?
43 unrestored copies.
That's not much. And there's a lot just sitting in people's collections because generally, if you own one, you're not in a position where you need to sell it
People
to.
don't sell them for the most part. Like,
Yeah.
once they get put away, most of the time they get put away and you have to pry them out of collections.
Yeah. So, like, for instance, Daniel, when are you selling yours?
I'm not.
Well, point in case. So, and so back to Comic Connect. we have a bunch of other stuff coming up. This feature auction over at Comic
Oh
Connect.
man. Yeah.
What else are we looking at, Danielle, over there?
Well, we were just discussing, and I'm like on the floor with my jaw still trying to pick it up. This 3.5 Amazing Fantasy 15 that's currently at, hang on, I got to scroll back to it because I'm so shocked by this price. It's at $62,000. What in
Yeah.
the what?
Okay, so let's get right into this then, guys. So this is what's important, and this is what we were talking about before we kind of started filming. And that, you know what, GPA doesn't tell the whole story about what actual book is worth. And I'll tell you why, and Danielle, chime in if I'm missing anything here. So this week we saw a couple finishes of AF15 5.5s. This past, I think it was a Sunday auction on Heritage. There was a 5.5 that finished in the ballpark of 78,000. Okay.
Yep.
Now, Danielle, what were the issues? Why did this book finish low as far as I'm concerned?
So I think that page quality, marble chipping, overall eye appeal, those things are not shared on GP analysis. So you can see a book in a grade and have a 20% swing in prices in weeks or a month. And the problem is it doesn't always give you a link to the book so you can see what does it look like. Is there super bad marble chipping? Is it a cream off-white copy? Is it an off-white white copy? Is it an off-white copy with really great eye appeal that looks like it can upgrade, where people will pay a premium if they think, oh, well, I can take this book to a 4 or a 4.5 or to a 6.0. Whereas if it's just like a dog for the grade, it's not going to get the same price.
Yeah, and so like, you know what, like we were talking about, like this 3.5 looks very nice, you know what I mean? But then
Yeah.
so we had another 5.5 finish. I get was it comic no, it was Comic Connect last night, right? The 5.5 finished that with the cream to off white. That finished a little higher than the Heritage one at 85. So that's gonna report
Yeah.
to GPA as well. But we got cream to off white. So now you know what I mean? What it's telling me is buyers are becoming more discerning. You know, they're becoming pickier. You're going to see
Yeah.
big swings in value because not all grades, like when you get a 3.5, like GPA doesn't, or not GPA, CGC doesn't take into account in their grading manufacturer's defects, which are like
Yep.
marble chipping. So if there's marble chipping on a book, so guys, what that is like when the printing blades were back in the day, you know, all these books were kind of printed on like low quality paper and whatnot. You got
Yeah.
these cutting blades that got dull, and they resulted in these kind of what
Like
looks like
slivers. Yeah.
slip. And there's books that are just plagued by that. You know, like ASM1, Fantastic Four 1, AF15. A lot of these
A15.
early silver marbles, and that's why it's called marble chipping. And we were talking about another book that this is going to impact coming up to auction over at Comic Connect. Is that there's a bunch of Fantastic Four #1s coming up to auction. So there's a 4.5 cream to off white. Now Fantastic Four is a tricky book because with a white cover like that, it shows tanning and
And so
discoloration
easily. Yeah.
so easily. So you got that cream to off white with cream to off white pages. It won't
Yep.
go as high as an off white or a white. You know what I mean? Then you have a 4.0 off white, but it shows tanning on the cover. And
Yeah.
it goes back to guys, you really got to buy the book and not the grade. So
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
not all grades are created equal, and that's why, you know, white pages, if you guys can swing a white page, be picky. These books
Always go for the white pages.
but you're gonna pay up for it. You know what I mean? I bought a book this past auction over at Comic Link. I paid way above GPA for a nice presenting copy of this book because I thought the book looked nice, had nice white
Yeah.
pages, nice signature on it. It's at the end of the day, it's whatever makes you happy. You know what I mean? If you're buying it for an investment, maybe go a different route. If you're buying it for your personal
Yeah.
collection, what makes sense to you?
Buy what you like.
But you know what? The old saying, I learned that on the CGC boards back in the day, buy what you love, and if the price goes down, you're still going to have something you love.
Yep.
And so there's something else coming up in a couple days over at Comic Connect, Danielle. What was that big book that we were talking about? Superman #1.
One.
Yeah, that's wild. I think we were talking about that. That's going to be exciting to
That's
see
gonna be insane.
where that one.
Already it's at 2.5 million for a 7.0. Nicest unrestored copy ever brought to market though.
Guys, start paying attention to it. You know, these bigger numbers. more people
Where
getting
does
into.
that go? That's already so strong. If that goes over 3 million, I'm drinking.
Wow, it's it's interesting with what's happening. You know what I mean? And then, guys, we got the Marvel Cinematic Universe effect on it too. We have a huge movie coming out right now,
Yes.
Spider-Man: No Way Home. Um, so the
Super
world,
excited.
and so that's been drawing a lot of attention, a lot of fan theories as to who's going to show up, who's not going to show up. We have Hawkeye coming, the latest episode 5, just out today. Um, some stuff going on over there. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Nope. No spoilers here.
No spoilers here. But guys, over with everything going on with the auction houses, you know what? And a month that's statistically low, doing very good for the higher end books. It
You
gives me some
know,
more
really healthy market right now overall.
for the super high and stuff. But just like everything else, some of them made. You know what I found, Danielle, and I got nothing but love for everyone, but all the auction houses and all that. But there were some deals to be had I found in the $5,000 to $20,000 books.
Yeah.
Some of them were down a little bit. You know what I mean? You saw some
Yeah.
variances, some opportunities. So, guys, keep in mind that what happens in one kind of price segment, like the $1,000 to $5,000 range, and the 5,000, let's say the $20,000 range, you're dealing with different buying groups,
Well,
different demographics.
I also think it has to do with rarity and how often this stuff comes up for sale.
Very good point. Yeah, and
Mhm.
sometimes you just you gotta swing for the fences when you see one of
Yeah.
these rare books. And point in case, you know what I mean? There's I'm a fan of Stanley signature books. I know it's not for
Yeah.
everyone. Some people like them, some people don't. Some purists think, oh, you shouldn't have a signed book. I love them. I love them. I think a lot of other people like them too. But a lot of these highest grade ASM Stanley signatures from the Parcel auction came up to auction, and some of these prices were wild. But you gotta jump on them when there's like these one of a kind books,
Yeah.
like pedigree books and stuff like that. Put out what you're comfortable paying for them.
Graded. Yep.
Don't look to get a deal on them necessarily, because when is next time you're going to see these books come around? That's how I
Yeah.
feel. I like. Dana,
100%.
how do you feel about pedigree books? You like them? You don't like them?
I think it depends on the pedigree for me.
Yeah.
I think that some pedigrees I'm just like, I like the Larsons. I like old school pedigrees.
Oh,
Mile High is really cool, but not a huge Mile High fan just because I've had opportunities to meet the guy who found him and he's not always very nice. So like they're amazing books and the story behind them is incredible, and how amazing for someone to be able to preserve so many books and keep them so high grade. But I love a good story behind the pedigree.
yes, I do too. Like we saw some crazy numbers coming out of Heritage with the Promise collection. You know what I mean? That's a newer pedigree, and I think there's still more Promise books coming
There's
up.
more coming. Yes. That is
Boy,
like a massive, massive collection.
and you know what? I'm a big fan of like comic book history and like the provenance, and you can
Yeah.
kind of track who had one. And what's really cool about pedigrees, guys, there's a couple websites. They're a few years older, but they'll give you the kind of breakdown of the history. I think the CGC website will talk about some of the history of the
Oh,
pedigrees too.
yeah. They have all the different backstories and all the pedigrees on their website and some of the forums.
And like what's really cool is most pedigrees, and I just jumped on this tangent just because whatever, I love pedigrees, but they'll have defining characteristics. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The Larson one, do they not have Larson written on the cover?
An L.
I know. Winnipeg pedigree, fellow Canadian pedigree, will have Dennis Kajolsko written on the top of the book, which is really cool.
Really cool.
Uh,
There's
yeah,
the D pedigree.
yes, with the D, and
Mhm.
it just
Polly's.
so yeah, and just
Polly's always have bad pages.
oh, that's no good. And then so pedigrees were interesting. I won't go on pedigrees too much. So you have the pedigrees, original owner collections, but then the kind of new breed of pedigrees is the collections. You know what I mean? So
That's not a pedigree. It's a collection it's they get like the same label, but I don't like the collection.
they don't get the gold-ish label. They don't get the silver gold label. But so since they can't be original owners, like I'm not going to buy these 1960 books at the stands. You'll have these prestigious like collections. Like there's the John Burke collection that came out. There's a Nicolas Cage collection. There is Stanley David Parso personal Taylor collection.
Promise.
The Promise, yeah, a bunch of these other kind of collections. So that's cool. But moving right along, guys. Over in tracking numbers, Danielle and I were talking. We're going to go back to kind of AF15 here because that book has seen a roller coaster of a year as far as values are concerned. Danielle, what do you think about AF15 in the market right now?
I think that it's I think that it's still really healthy. I think if you look at where that book was a year ago and where it is today, it is still very healthy. We've seen a little dip because it just kind of happens when you have so many copies constantly coming to market. You need to have buyers to absorb all those books, and people get kind of winded, I guess, when there's like copy after copy after copy. This is the first show that I've seen two AF15s on a wall. Like any other walls that I've seen at shows and even in New York, I didn't
They're
see
not around.
AF15s. Yeah, they're just.
Remember? Yeah, no, I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt. Remember back, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, even longer, you'd see them like frequently,
I
like
used to have shelves of like 4 or 5 copies on my wall. Yeah, I
long.
remember.
Oh man, yeah, I remember too. Back in probably 2010, 2011, you could get like a 3.5 for like 7,500,
Yeah,
8,000, like nice copy. Not anymore, man. It's those days are gone.
gone
But
are those days. Hell, a year ago, year and a half ago, I could get a 1.0 for 10K.
yes, I
Yeah,
remember those days. But where it looks like there's some good opportunities. Like we just had a 7, was it a 7.0 or a 7.5, Danielle, that just finished last night at
that was a
250.
7.0, and that was a strong price.
Yeah, strong price. We saw a couple finish over at a Comic Link this week as well, but it looks like there's some kind of price compression going on between like the 3 to
Yeah.
5.5
Yeah,
range.
but
Like,
that always happens, right? In like the middle, because it's like there's always a lot of people for the low, low end because the buyer pool is bigger under 20K.
yeah,
And once you get into 6 figures, like there's people that only shop in that price range and grade range. And the middle kind of always gets forgotten about because it's people that have to choose, well, do I want an AF15 or an FF1 or a Journey 83? They can't have all of them.
okay.
So
Well,
you have
where do you buy right now? Not unbiased opinion, because I know
Journey
you.
83,
Well, of course.
Avengers 1.
Do you think those are better opportunities right now than like a Fantastic Four one or an
Yeah.
AF15?
Yeah, because like they're still not super expensive. They didn't hit those crazy, crazy peaks that AF15 and FF1 and X-Men 1. I think X-Men 1 is on a dip right now. Buy X-Men 1s because that's going to come back when they start putting out movie stuff. Like,
Oh,
X-Men 1's going to go off. Buy Giant Size X-Men 1. Buy Hulk 181. They're going to do something with Wolverine. They
yeah.
have to. Like, they have to bring back that franchise. It's too big for Marvel and Disney.
Yeah, well, guys, also keep in mind too that I think they just released the poster for Love and Thunder, and so you're gonna see a little more attention.
Is Angela on there?
You know what? I don't know. You think Angela's gonna be in that movie?
Yeah,
Well, guys, so
I
buy
do.
Spawn 9. Spawn
Spawn
9
9.
newsstand. That's the big one.
Newsstands are hard to find on Spawn 9. I have a whole box. I have no newsstands.
Yeah, well, I saw
Not
your whole
one.
box of She-Hulk 1, so if this is comparable to that, like, watch out, guys. So Danielle, you can't be selling them all at the same time. It's gonna crash the market.
Right.
Um,
Watch out, guys.
Yeah, guys. So it's well, Danielle, we've had a fun
Yeah.
6 weeks leading up to the end of the year, man. I can't get over some of the guests we've
I
had on.
know.
And guys, we were just talking, Danielle and I, after she got back from C2E2, we have a stacked lineup of things in the works, people coming on.
New year. Who dis?
So yeah, returning guests to the shows too. So guys, I want to thank all of you for spending your time, sharing your time with us, hearing what we have to say about a few things. And Danielle, is there anything that you want to sign off with?
Nope. Make sure you're following me over on Whatnot, Nerdy Girl Comics. Make sure you're following me over on Instagram. Make sure you're following Nefarious over on Instagram. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to like and
Happy
subscribe.
holidays, guys.
Happy holidays, guys.